Good Sunday to you all. Welcome to this episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Of course, I am Shawn with my tag team partner, Ashlee. And today on the show, we have a very special treat for you as Kimmy Sickle returns for her pod break extra as we go through the state of Ring of Honor. Gotta say, Ashlee, that was a fun segment that we recorded back on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think we all sort of agree about the state of Ring of Honor right now.
I think we have a clear path for what we want to see in Ring of Honor in 2025. Is this a question? Does our views match Tony Khan's views? And that's like the $64 million question. So stay tuned for that. We will also be having a special Wednesday night Radio Free Professional Wrestling as we preview Full Gear 2024 with the most latest card known to man until Tony Khan decides to add 4 more matches.
Yeah, and we know as of last pay-per-view, he added one during the pre-show.
Very fair point, because literally we said it as we were going into the show, going like, he's going to add a match, and the first thing on the show was said match.
Yep. Every time.
But let's catch you up on the weekend wrestling news. We're going straight to the control center.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
Becky Lynch is reported to be announcing her future with the WWE today as she is at Vulture Festival promoting her autobiography. Per Mike Johnson of PW Insider, there is a lot of rumors going around that Netflix wants said Becky Lynch on Raw as Raw makes its jump over to Netflix in January of 2025.
Makes a lot of sense, and I think the Raw women's roster could use the help right now.
We are going to debate that in the 76 questions. I do agree with you, but I'm going to try to make a counterpoint to that argument. But our second news story for you is one that you brought to my attention. As Speedball Mike Bailey's contract with TNA Wrestling apparently ended on November 1st, Fightful is reporting that he's probably heading AEW bound for the simple fact that if he was heading to WWE or NXT, he wouldn't have to be written out of the storylines in TNA because there's a crossover of NXT and TNA at the moment.
Yeah, and I was honestly very surprised to hear about this. I thought honestly TNA was a perfect space for him, but hey, if he's going to come over, it's C2 season.
Very true. He would be a very fine addition to the said C2 tournament. In the 76 questions, we're going to debate his future in AEW if that's where he ends up at. On to my next story for you. As AEW is changing the location of their December 7th show in Columbus, Ohio, they are moving from the basketball arena over to Classic Con, which is at their convention center. Classic Con is a big Comic-Con that is a 3-day event, and it's going to be now with AEW Collision taping on Saturday. I gotta say, Ashley, I think this is a smart move. I feel like if you can not fill a basketball arena, why not move the thing to a event where there's going to be a ton of people?
Yeah, I mean, you're likely to, find people in the area who are already AEW fans, and it's a good spot to try to bring in new fans.
See, it reminds me of WCW going to Mall America for the first Nitro. They didn't know exactly what they had on their hands with Nitro, so they went to the Mall America to be different, and it made the show special, and it just set the course for the run of Nitros.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a cool way to try to bring in fans, especially to take advantage of something where obviously people are very passionate about their fandoms.
In my last news story for you this week, Kenny Omega had an interview with Fightful, and where he was talking about why he's making his return to the ring with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it comes down to the fact that Kenny Omega feels very obligated, he owes a lot to New Japan Pro Wrestling for putting him on the professional wrestling map. And he didn't want to take the spot of somebody in AEW right now, as he feel like AEW is loaded. And I feel like he wants to pay back New Japan Pro Wrestling for all the things they did for him at the beginning of his career.
Yeah, and it's very cool because I think a lot of people over the past few years have been sort of concerned with the direction of New Japan. But this past year, they've knocked it out of the park, and I think they've been killing it. And Kenny Omega coming in to feud with somebody, especially somebody as hot as like a Gabe Kidd, could be perfect for them right now.
It's going to get a lot of eyeballs, especially for that January 4th, January 5th show. And I cannot wait to see Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. I feel like that is going to freaking steal the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if we get the cleaner Kenny Omega that we love and know from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I think we need to see it. It's been too long.
That has been your Control Center here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling for November the 17th, 2024. We are heading over to our stunning 6 questions of the week.
Time to ring the bell. As Shawn and Ashlee debate 6 stunning questions from the week of wrestling. All the whys. And what the hell was that?
My first stunning question for you, Ashlee, this week. Coming off of the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, literally 48 hours ago, do you want to see both Paul brothers as a tag team heading into WrestleMania season?
Personally, no. But I do understand the appeal for WWE to want to capitalize on their YouTube status, and obviously Jake Paul's ever-growing boxing status here. I said before, when Logan was was a singles competitor, was on a singles run, if he had the time to invest and could commit to WWE, absolutely go for it. He's shown that he's adept in the ring. If the Paul brothers have time and want to commit to it, then sure, I could see them doing something. But right now, I feel like WWE is actually doing a very good job with their tag division. They have a lot of good names, a lot of teams. And I think they should work with who they have right now.
Okay, so I was watching SmackDown before I headed over to watch the boxing matches later evening on Friday. And I saw the Machine Guns have their match with the Street Profits. And that was in the back of my mind when I made this question. And I'm going, the Machine Guns can give these guys, the Paul brothers, a dang good professional wrestling match. And hey, you could keep the titles on the Machine Guns until WrestleMania and have it for the tag team titles. And you have the Paul brothers beat the Machine Guns at WrestleMania. And it'd be one of those social media,
Happenings,
happenings. It'd be one of those social media moments where you get a lot of clicks. And I feel like the WWE
exactly.
would go with it. And it's a tag team titles. It's not a world title. It's a tag team titles. We've seen Logan Paul with the US title, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. I feel like they could capitalize on that. But I would want the commitment from them to be like, hey, yeah, we're going to be here week in and week out.
Fair point. And that's why I'm saying WrestleMania season. So that can run from January all the way up to April. Then they can drop the titles in May at Backlash.
Yeah, something like that would be fine. And like you said, it would certainly be big enough for the social media outlets to get a hold of.
Oh, yeah, especially. I mean, this special they had on Friday night with the boxing, there's 120 million people viewing on this thing. It literally crashed Netflix.
Yeah, that was all I saw in my feed was about it, really was about people talking about how bad it was.
Honestly, it wasn't bad until you get to the 2 co-main events. Up to that point, it was running fine, and I feel like a lot of people jumped in at the end of the second fight to see the two women fight in the semi-main event. And that's when all the buffering and all the issues started. And
I'll be very honest. I didn't watch the show, but I saw obviously everybody talking about it on social media, and it almost started. There was a big cut in the women's match, over one of the women's eye. Looked awful, but like right after that happened, within like the next 5 minutes, I started seeing all the posts about people like all their feeds going down. Everybody's buffering. I was like, this is crazy. Like for Netflix to have that many viewers at once and not be able to handle it.
it was crazy. It took me probably, it was a 4-hour card. It took me almost 5 hours to watch the whole thing because I literally had to back up for the last 2 matches to see the results. It took me 4 or 5 times refreshing my feed for the women's match. Then I finally get to the Mike Tyson match, and I fell asleep. I slept through round 1 through 4 and woke up for 4 through 8. So I've been told I didn't miss much, so I haven't gone back to watch it yet. But I do want to see the Paul brothers make a run in WWE as a tag team. I feel like they can bring some more eyeballs, especially since we're moving over to Netflix with Raw. And the Raw tag team division is not as set as the SmackDown tag team division is loaded.
It is loaded.
So, my friend, my second sending question for you, as we stay with WWE, who would you like to see to be the 5th member of the OG Bloodline War Games team? Because Sami Zayn has been going around Raw and SmackDown trying to find the 5th member, and he has no luck. And we saw on Friday night, Roman finally made the call to the wise man and couldn't get connected.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I got 2 names. My first name for you is somebody who hasn't have a match yet named to Survivor Series War Games. One American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And my second,
Especially with everything they've been through this past few months.
and my second choice is kind of out of left field because I thought this guy would be on the other team, but apparently Bronson Reed is the 5th member of Team Solo. Does Roman humble himself enough to call The Rock, and you get Rock to be on Team Roman?
Oh. That could be interesting, especially because I think most people have kind of assumed The Rock is off now. At least for now. We haven't seen him in a little bit.
See, I was thinking he was going to be the 5th for Solo's team until we saw Bronson Reed clearly make the case for him being the 5th member, and I feel like he's the person to put in there for The Rock, and I feel like The Rock won't be at Survivor Series War Games, and we'll see The Rock probably at Royal Rumble. So I think Cody is the better of my 2 options.
I could definitely see it being Cody, especially with seemingly not having a match set for him for that. But I could definitely see, obviously, them setting up something for him coming out of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you can have Kevin Owens come down and cost the OG Bloodline the match. I mean, like he can come down there and attack Cody before Cody gets into the cage, and he locks the cage, and it's 4-on-5.
What about Seth?
See, Seth would be the other option I was thinking about, and we saw Sammy reach out to Seth, and Seth was like, "No, there's no way for me to team with Roman." Then Solo tried to get Seth to join his team, and he said he did. And Seth said he didn't want
Come
to
on,
be
you
part.
know you want to fight Bronson again, Seth.
Well, now since Bronson is part of Team Solo, I can see Roman and Sammy going back to Seth, going like, "I know you don't like us, but Bronson's on the other side. You want your hands on Bronson? Here you go."
Yeah.
Okay, so my third setting question for you this week, as we were talking in the Control Center about Becky Lynch making an announcement about her future with the WWE. Which brand would be better for Becky's return? Do you want her return to Raw, or you want her to return to SmackDown?
I think it would be best, especially with her name power and everything, to go to Raw. I feel like SmackDown again is loaded in this division and maybe doesn't need the help right now. But we're missing some women on Raw. We have some injuries. We have some women out and stuff. So I think her coming in and making obviously her immediate impact on her return could really help that division right now.
I agree with you. I feel like Netflix is going to push their wanting of Becky Lynch to be on Raw with the TKO board of directors.
You know that new contract is Netflix money.
Yes, it is. So I got a feeling that Becky is going to be on the red brand and she's going to be on Monday nights. And like you said, the Raw women's division is kind of like the tag team division. It has some holes in it right now, and they could use some bodies.
For sure. And she's kind of like the perfect person to help bring up some of the younger people on the Raw brand to help elevate everybody. So put her on there, let her do her thing, and it should be okay until you get some names back.
Very true. So let's move on to my fourth stunning question for you this week. As we were talking about in the control center, that Speedball Mike Bailey is apparently heading towards AEW. And if he does, how do you see him fitting into this stack singles division and AEW?
It's going to be tough. It's tough for anybody, I think, to break through with some of the names on this roster. But he is a fan favorite pretty much everywhere he goes. And AEW fans love their in-ring work. And Mike Bailey is going to bring that to AEW.
You know, you can have Speedball Mike Bailey versus Ricochet. You can have Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, Commander, Gravity. There's a lot of names. Hologram. So I feel like he's going to be slotted in probably the Continental title or the International title level. And I'm hoping he has a chance to get on Collision a lot more, because Collision is really the wrestling brand of AEW. And I feel like that's where he's probably going to end up. He's going to have a lot of matches on Collision with lots of Fletcher and Ricochet, Hologram, and Commander and the Elite.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he tries to join a faction or if he stays solo.
You know, he would fit right in with the Conglomeration.
Yeah. Oh my God, Mike Bailey and Mark Briscoe teaming up.
That would
That
be
could be
fun.
fun.
That would be interesting, I gotta say.
Or Kyle O'Reilly.
Well, you know, speaking of Kyle O'Reilly, back on Dynamite this past Wednesday, we almost had the reunification of the Undisputed Era for a moment.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn because I love the Conglomeration, but I also have sort of figured from the start of things that KOR was going to join Undisputed Kingdom. So I feel like it's an inevitability.
Yeah, I feel like they're just keeping this out there as something like, keep your eye on this. We know that you want this, and eventually we're going to get to it. They're just trying to prolong this Colorado babyface run, and now they basically made Roderick Strong babyface as he's going against MJF at Full Gear now. Like they have dropped the whole hill side of the Undisputed Kingdom.
Yeah, it completely too. Even Taven and Bennett have been full-fledged baby faces lately. I feel like this is a weird story in AEW because this was so good. It got so weird when everybody got injured. And then we came back and it didn't make sense what we were doing. We were cheering Adam Cole. MJF went back to being a bad guy. Now we have Roddy Strong coming in, who's been a heel the whole time, just switching to babyface. I do like how they've sort of navigated since then. and I'm excited to see it. I don't know if I fully trust Roddy.
Fair point, because maybe he's a ingenuous babyface, and really his babyface turn is out of nowhere. And really, he's only babyface because he's facing MJF, and he won 3 matches that MJF made him fight. So really, I mean, like, he hasn't done much more to be a babyface.
That's true. I mean, he's been really funny, but that doesn't count for.
Okay, so we did see a return on Friday Night SmackDown, which leads me to my next stunning question. Shinsuke Nakamura made his return to Friday Night SmackDown, attacking LA Knight during his US title match. So it looks like we're going to get LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Sign me up, please. But Ashley, what do you want to see from this run from Shinsuke Nakamura?
Truthfully, just a more steady appearance. um, he sometimes comes out and we have to be reminded of how good he is because we don't get to see him as often.
Honestly, I feel like they forget about him. I'm going like, he's dang good. I mean, like, he's a good babyface. He's a great heel. I just want something close to what he had during his first run at NXT. And if he's going to do a heel version of that with LA Knight, sign me up. I feel like it's going to be a fun ride into WrestleMania. I'm probably Royal Rumble season. I don't think we'll get to WrestleMania with LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura. I feel like this is more of a Road to the Rumble story.
Yeah, I could see that. But I'm excited to see where this goes because, like I said, we haven't seen much from Shinsuke. So hopefully this means we're going to get some more steady appearances from him. And I like the new look and stuff. So I'm interested to see where this goes.
And I would love to see him versus Cody for the WWE Undisputed World title. I feel like if we need another opponent for Cody as we work our ways towards whatever we're doing with Cody at Mania, you have some B-level PLE events you need to have matches for Cody. Shinsuke Nakamura, perfectly fine person you can slide in there for a feud.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have seen another person make returns to AEW through video packages, and we're talking about the best part of the House of Black, or what we should really say is the House of Julia, as Julia Hart is on her way back to AEW. These kind of like House of like American Horror Story kind of VNs she's been doing, they are amazing, and I can't wait to see who she goes after first. I think we got a tease on Dynamite as we saw Jamie Hayter's interview slide right into the latest Julia Hart vignette.
Yeah, I'm loving these. Julia Hart has been sorely missed.
Now, personally, I got a feeling that we're going to see Julia Hart at Full Gear, and I got a feeling she may be helping the House of Black win some tag team titles that night. But that's for Wednesday night when we do our preview show.
Honestly, would not be mad at that.
But outside of Jamie Hayter, I would love to see Julia Hart go after Mariah May. I feel like the women's world title picture scene is fully open. I feel like since we have Mercedes Moné as your TBS champion right now, the world title has been kind of legated or not looked at for as much as it should be. I mean, Mariah May versus Anna Jay, they had a nice 3-match feud. That seems to be over. If you haven't seen the conclusion of that 3-match series, you need to watch Collision because that was one dang good main event. It was another great hardcore match. But I'd love to see Julia Hart versus Mariah May.
Very interesting. And like you said, I do agree. The women's title has sort of taken a backseat to Mercedes Moné being the TBS champion. But I do feel like it's been almost on pause with Mina Shirakawa coming back, and then I feel like they were waiting for this because now they seem to be kicking off something at Full Gear.
I got a sneaking feeling, since we're going to go ahead and talk about this right here for Full Gear, they're going to have the champagne celebration at Full Gear. I feel like this is where Mariah May turns on Shafir over Mina, and we kick off their feud for the AEW World Title, and that could run through World's End or Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, I could see that. In terms of where we started though with Julia, I would honestly, if she doesn't come back and go straight for like a title or anything, someone I would love to see her be into like a long-term feud with is somebody who has also just recently made a comeback, and that's Penelope Ford. I feel like those two women have like a very similar athletic background, and they could do some really crazy stuff together.
True, and that would be a nice start for Julia Hart if you don't want to put her right into the title scene. If you wanted to bring her back and introduce her to newer AEW fans who may not know who Julia Hart is, that would be a feud where Julia Hart can have the win, and it wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt Penelope Ford. It'd be fine for that. So I can
No, and
see.
it also gets her back on TV some more with her also just coming back because she was gone for almost 2 years. And I feel like in that time, there are new fans that are fans that have left, so you might have a whole new, swath of people watching.
Very true. And I gotta say, Penelope Ford, very underrated, and since she's came back, she has looked very impressive. She has a couple of good matches, and if she had a good feud with Julia Hart, it would help both ladies.
Absolutely. And we saw Penelope Ford in her comeback matches. She's had like 2 or 3, and she's looked good in all of them.
And it's always good to have more women ready to move out into the title scene as we're rolling into 2025. And finally, after almost 5 years, they have a functioning women's division, and they have women matches without needing the title as part of the feud.
It's crazy. It's like night and day.
It's very night and day because there's been days and weeks and months here at the early part of AEW where we were just screaming for a second women's match or a women's match without needing a title for the feud.
Right. Or, just a woman's segment.
Exactly, a segment that wasn't like the 9:30 segment every
Right.
freaking week.
That death slot time.
So that has been your 76 questions here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling this week. So Ashlee, where can we find you on the Super Information Superhighway?
So mostly made the switch to Blue Sky like most people here. That's at groovyash.bsky.social. I do still occasionally post on Twitter as well, and that's at groovy_ash_.
And of course, you can always follow this show on Twitter at Radio Free PW. You can follow me at RFPW Shawn. Visit our website at www.radiofreeprowrestling.com as it's back up and running, and it has all the back catalog of our podcast. And until we see you next time, which will be Wednesday for our AEW full year preview, stay stunning. Remember, this is our stunning and groovy era. Guns up.